everybody, it's your old friends at Monday Madness, and welcome to GrapsWatch, our bi-weekly wrestling podcast where we're reviewing everything that's been happening in the very unprofessional world of professional wrestling. On this week's episode, I'm being joined by Aaron and Jamie as we both review the Elimination Chamber and how it sets up everything for Wrestlemania, and perhaps how it doesn't set up anything at all for some people, looking at you, Cody Rhodes in particular. Obviously, we'll have our top graphs where we review our top 10 most interesting wrestlers after the events of Elimination Chamber to see if anything is impacted on that, and of course little dalliance in the Mirror Universe to see if we can do some creative control to see what Elimination Chamber could have been on the other side. And to end our podcast, we're going to be doing a retrospective on AJ Styles and the various impacts he's had over his career, if you pardon the pun, from his time in NWA to TNA to WCW to New Japan to the Indies to eventually WWE, where he would eventually retire at the hands of Gunther. We're going to be talking about his impact on the wider wrestling sphere, on the wrestlers themselves, and we do pose the question, is he perhaps the most influential wrestler who's ever graced the ring? That is what is to look forward to on our episode of GrapsWatch, so hopefully you enjoy. So that is the Elimination Chamber in the books, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've watched it by now. If not, you might want to pause this and just hop onto Netflix and just kind of get yourself up to speed. If not, just a Wikipedia article will probably do the same difference to you. You know, one Elimination Chamber sometimes fits all. But there are some interesting things about the show nonetheless that we are going to chat about here today. Obviously, wasn't the most packed card that WWE will ever put on, but it is, of course, the last, I suppose, like, rest stop before Wrestlemania and all the things in between, but it has done enough to set up things for the big show in Vegas. So I suppose, Aaron, we'll start in the sense, what is the kind of if we're picking out talking points from Elimination Chamber, what's the first one that kind of pops out for you on that one?
I think before we started, I already said it. They were trying to fucking shoehorn in about 6 months worth of storylines to get to the goal they want, which they wanted to do beforehand, definitely, but now they realize, oh shit. And I think the whole multi-man match that I was hoping for is definitely not fucking happening now, which is a shame.
Well, we're referring to the Drew kind of like
the Drew, because that was like my big goal was that it was going to be Drew's actions of the past finally catching up with him and it blowing up in his face, which is very on brand for Drew.
Yes.
And has been ever since he wrestled Punk. And it would have made sense if he did have to face the Elimination Chamber winner, if he had to face Cody and then slap an Uso inside there, and you had, not a Samoan inside there, and you get the craziest Samoan, and it works. They might not be doing that now. They might be going for the secret third option. The one that no one wants, and the one that makes everyone look bad.
It's the one thing we didn't want to happen.
Yeah. And it's happening. And it's I'm not looking forward to it. I gotta be honest. I'm looking forward to Punk more and Roman, and that's not just because I'm a Punk fan. There's more bones in that. It feels more natural. Whereas the other one, I'm not against Randy having another main event. It's fine with that. But it's very much okay. We see what you want to do.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're going around on the roundabout 10 times to take that turn off.
Yeah,
it's the long way to get there.
That was my kind of thought process on it as well, in a sense that like Randy Orton was almost like the third kind of like news story in that match. It was very similar, like if I'm kind of looking for a like comparison on Chambers, it's very similar to the one where Jericho won the title in it, because the story was Shawn Michaels screwing the Undertaker out of the title. That was the real story of that match.
Which in a way, that was fine because that all made sense.
Oh yeah, it's one of those ones where like it's more consistent after the fact, and you see like what the finished product was. So like when you're kind of looking, you're kind of looking at the middle part of the whole story with a bit of a head tilt, trying to figure out what shape, what like orientation the painting is. Um, but again, this is sometimes where you can give WWE too much credit, and they can say, "Oh, this is always planned the plan from the start." Not true. It's absolutely not true.
It's
They are
not it's not
no.
no you. I think we're all accustomed to when the plan is supposed to be the plan, and when the
Yeah.
plan definitely was the plan,
Mm.
and they're fixing a mistake they should have fixed 2 months ago.
Yeah, well, let's get into that. Let's kind of tie that into the elimination chamber because obviously there was a couple of stories going into the elimination chamber, and that when we're talking about the men's chamber first of all, thankfully the women's chamber was a lot more coherent, so that's an easier kind of like bite to chew through, which we will momentarily. But we'll start off with the men's one. Obviously, Randy Orton did win the elimination chamber, so he is absolutely guaranteed to go to WrestleMania regardless. That is guaranteed. So he will be fighting for the WWE Championship, whomsoever is holding the belt at that point. But the other kind of obviously the other story was obviously Seth Rollins coming back and the whole masked man angle finally wrapping up to its inevitable conclusion. We all kind of knew it was coming,
Yeah.
but there was enough. The throwing in the decoys was a nice little touch, and again they're all Seth Rollins's pupils and stuff from the academy, so it's like that's little hat tips as well. So it's all good stuff. Now again, that's a very different kind of kettle of fish because that story is kind of on the rocks more so because everyone keeps pulling up with fucking dodgy hamstrings as opposed to anything else.
Yes.
And like
There's not a
literally, I think
single member of the original division that's now currently not injured in some way, shape, or form.
yeah, essentially yeah, like it genuinely could
Yeah.
be that Seth Rollins has to face Paul Heyman because he is the only fit one, and that is saying a lot about the rest of them. Um,
No, he's not anymore. Actually, he got dragged away in an ambulance,
well, that's
which I'm
true
sure
actually.
was
Ellie
not
Nice now that yeah, Ellie Nice had his
yeah.
fucking way with him now, filling him full of fucking Slim Jims or
Yeah.
whatever he does for a living. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this whole thing is kind of a disaster. I mean, we're probably getting Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins, which is fine. That would
perfect good
probably be
match.
great.
Yeah.
It's going to be grand. I don't know if anyone's really going to like it.
Well,
I
again,
don't think.
that's another question in the sense of like what is the story in aid of? Because I think at the start of this whole injury angle, it made sense, but again, the people that he's angry at are also injured, so like he has a lot of excess energy that's not going anywhere. Now, granted, maybe when they were doing this whole angle to begin with, Bronson Reed was probably the person that Rollins was going to face at WrestleMania, which would have made a lot of kind of it would have
Yeah,
been at least
that would have
consistent
been.
anyway. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but they would have pulled on pass booking as well, and they've
yeah.
had a pass with each other, so it would have been perfect, John. But
Yeah, but and look, they have to work with it. They have to deal with the hand they're given. Absolutely understandable. That's just the way it is. So when we come back into to the men's chamber, obviously the dust has settled. Randy Orton has won the chamber itself. Cody Rhodes to me is actually the bigger story in this because again, for me, it's not just about kind of Cody also losing in the Rumble and not just losing, but he wasn't even remotely involved in the final four. Like he was literally just like turfed out by Drew.
yeah,
So it wasn't even a factor in that. But obviously, this is a very much evidence that he lost this chamber. Like, is that you could obviously present the optics of it, like where Drew like kind of screwed him over in a sense, and this is becoming kind of weirdly obsessive for Drew and all that jazz. Um, but as I said, it's tying into the story that Drew McIntyre is basically making his own problems for himself, whereas he could just plow on and just forget about Cody Rhodes.
mm,
Which then we kind of go to the kind of behind the curtain and we kind of describe what the actual problems are with the World Heavyweight Championship, with the WWE Championship scene. Like Drew, I think Drew is a perfectly fine champion by his own right, but WWE don't seem to be confident enough in him for a WrestleMania match.
yeah, which is mental because he's arguably the best heel, who's very easy
Mm,
to dislike, and you're putting him in the perfect situation for the heel to get his comeuppance and somehow still coming out on top.
mm,
Which was always the idea that should have went through anyway. That I said in the last time I was on, all of his chickens should have come home to roost.
yeah.
He should have had a member of the Samoans going against him, Cody, and whoever won the chamber.
Hmm.
Now, whoever won I you could have added somebody else inside there. I would have much preferred Zayn. I don't know what happens with Sami Zayn now, which is madness. I
Mm,
don't know what they do here. So you're left in a position where you have arguably your best face in the company has nothing to do.
Yeah.
Your best heel in the company is about to lose his belt at SmackDown because I don't see how that works out at all if he wins.
Well, could that
I
match
don't.
not be a way of setting it up to be the fatal four way if Jacob Fatu gets involved? Would that not be the way to make it a four way?
I mean, it's a way of doing this some shenanigans at the end of it, of course, but I that match needed Sami Zayn.
Mm,
That match needed a fucking white hot baby face that everyone wanted to win, and you're kind of left out with a heel who everyone wants to lose.
mm,
But Randy's fine, but he's not a long term champion.
yeah.
He's at that age where it's like he's obviously going to be great, whatever he does. But you know, whatever. Fans who are getting sick of Cody a little bit are kind of hoping that he kind of maybe pisses off for like a couple of months, maybe till SummerSlam,
Mm,
give people a break. And you've got Jacob Fatu, who is going nowhere near that world title for at least another 12 months.
mm.
No way he's touching that belt for at least another 12 months. Could you imagine if they gave Fatu a world title win at Mania as first main event
Yeah,
out of
he's
nowhere?
yeah. As I said, we don't know the
Yeah,
face. Crucially, like again,
like,
he's not sure if he's face or heel any given week. So like, it's kind of hard to pick
yeah.
a contender for him at
So you're left with a situation where it's not a fun, I don't know what's going to happen.
the minute.
Because it's not like the Punk and Reigns match where I actually don't know what's going to happen in that match. But I'm
Mm, mm.
intrigued to see what they do. Because Punk, for all intents and purposes, has been a fucking great champion.
Yeah, he's had a fantastic reign, and that's fully endorsed by us on a kind of weekly basis. Like for
Yeah,
someone who I wouldn't have put any kind of credence in his current reign, like obviously because it started off really weirdly with taking over from Rollins, but what's happened in the body of work after that has further proven that to be correct.
the biggest fear was that he was going to get stuck in the Rollins thing for the whole reign, and it didn't happen. And he's after coming out with banger after banger after banger of a
Yeah.
match and being the perfect kind of like veteran champion. So he could lose to
Mm,
Reigns, and that's probably fine, I guess. But Reigns, as we all know, is not going to be there weekly.
yeah.
So you're taking the Workhorse World Championship away from the Workhorse brand.
Mm.
So that's fine. You can
Well,
still
but
leave
that,
it on
that
Punk.
goes back to the point of like if they do end up if that is the intention of giving Roman Reigns another world title and letting Punk go off to do something else or to work with other people on the card or maybe even switch brands, which is a possibility as well. The way I look at it is that like you do need like in order to do something like that, in order to basically do a Lesnar and have a part-time champion, you need to have the other world championship ready to go. But not only just the other world champion, it's not just as easy of setting up the title to be on TV every week, which is obviously the case, it is. But you also need to have a good division to do that. And SmackDown's problem at the moment, and again, it always feels very transitionary. It seems like they will get their act together by after WrestleMania is the problem. WrestleMania almost feels like the reset for SmackDown in a certain degree, where they just need to go
Yeah,
right. We're picking a champion, we're picking a rival, and we're going from there. But how they get there, I think, is going to be the issue because again, everyone's going to pull out the same kind of problems. I think. Well, Cody's just going to if he does get this shout on Friday on the next episode of SmackDown, and he does end up winning the World Championship. Then, as I said, now Drew is a spare prick in the whole thing. What does he do for WrestleMania after carrying the brand for 2 months? So they've been a rod for their own back here by having things just so confusing and just not
yeah.
just outright saying we're doing, or even just have the conviction to say we're giving Cody a different match at WrestleMania, and they're obviously afraid to do that. They don't know
They're
what to do
shitting
with
it.
them at the moment. Yeah,
Uh,
but let's drill it down into it because obviously, like, it's not a surprise in a sense that the Cody character has got stale because that is unfortunately the fate of a white meat babyface. It's very rare that you get a character that stays not even fresh is the one word to use, but doesn't go stale. It kind of keeps its luster for a number of years. I think really the only two people I can think of that's had that luxury would probably be John Cena and Rey Mysterio. Um, and
yeah,
even then, Rey Mysterio would be a kind of an example of like, well, Rey Mysterio is purely because of the luchador energy, whereas John Cena was almost like a machine, like aspect of it, where like he was selling so much merchandise and um was just so profitable that they had to keep him a babyface. Like making him a heel would have been a disaster for the company. Um, Cody, on the other hand, I suppose neither of them kind of work as a reason why to keep him a face because CM Punk is CM Punk and Rhea Ripley would be selling as much merch as Cody would be. Um,
Easy,
Commercially, he'd be doing
easy.
very well anyway outside of wrestling. Um, and yeah, like the kind of like there's enough heroes to go around at the moment in WWE. What the show is really missing is a proper, consistent week to week villain, and maybe that's the
Yeah,
spot that Cody fills. You know?
I doing. Everyone wants the Homelander Cody
Mm,
because it's fun, and because we've seen what he's like as a heel from the Indies.
yeah.
He was funny heel. He was great.
Mm,
He was an arsehole, but it was kind of like he just loved the madness type of
yeah.
arsehole. Um, so I mean that's what we kind of want. I just don't believe they're going to do that because they're at the John Cena level of face where they're afraid to do it.
Yeah.
And it'll take a lot for them. He's going to need Roman Reigns level booze heading into 2020, 2021,
Mm,
even, for them to ever consider turning him heel. And I think depending on how this Mania run goes, will depend on whether they're actually going to do it. I don't think he's going to come up favorably in the eyes of the fans if he beats Drew Friday. I think it's going to be kind of a disaster. I don't think
yeah.
the online reception is going to work. As we all know, Triple H is chronically online.
Mm.
So I don't think the online reception is going to work. I don't think, I got to be honest, I don't think Randy and Cody is going to be any good, to be honest.
Well, that's the other problem they
I
have, isn't it? Is
don't,
that like you have to, yeah.
it's just, I just don't see the two, I think the two of them bouncing off each other. In theory, in your head,
Mm,
that should be a fucking banger of a match. It's not going to be that
mm,
because the two of them are very alike in a
yeah.
sense. So you're kind of like hoping against hope that the two of them just being veterans and having these long careers is like that they'll put out a fucking pretty decent match. I just don't think they will. Because
Mm,
I think the last time I remember them wrestling, granted it was like about 10 years ago now, to be fair, it really wasn't that great. And I think the only way it works is if you have a cold-blooded Randy Orton against the white meat babyface Cody Rhodes. But if you don't have a cold-blooded Randy Orton who's willing to kick his head in because he fucking walked up the hallway wrong, I don't think I don't think it works.
yeah.
I really don't think it works. And that's kind of where they are now, where this is going to shit the bed very badly. It'll probably follow, if I had to guess, it'll probably be night two. So I'm gonna guess Stab in the Dark, they're probably gonna follow one of the women's matches. And
Mm.
so we know Rhea and Jade is one of them. What's the other one again?
It would
Vicaria
be
and
EO
Liv
and
Morgan.
Stephanie. EO Vicar, EO and Vic, or not EO, Jesus, Liv Morgan and
Yeah,
Vicar.
Liv.
Yeah,
Any one of those matches is probably gonna be better than them.
yeah,
Because I think Rhea could pull out a great match against a plastic bag. So
yeah.
she's probably going to put out a great match against Jade Cargill. So if they follow any of them,
That's a good point,
you're
actually.
heading
Like
for
it's
you're
probably it
heading
is
for
probably the
mania
fourth. It probably is the weakest of the world championship matches, isn't it? Really, like
by
to me,
far.
it was almost it's analogous to me of the Uso and Gunther match last year, but to their credit, the program that they did on the run up to it really helped. Like, who knew that beating the
Yeah,
shit out of the brother of the number one contender to a bloody pulp does wonders for both the babyface and the heel in that feud, because like
yeah.
everyone wins. Like you have a vindicated babyface who will win now because of the bloodlust, and then you have Gunter who is literally smeared in people's blood, which is an optimal visual
It's
for that man.
always a great visual, no matter
Yes.
who does it. It's always a great visual,
Yeah.
no matter who has blood in them. It's very hard to find a wrestler who doesn't immediately become an aura farmer. when they have blood all over their fucking face.
Yeah.
Very difficult. So it's there's just there's nothing keep me in unless they do go the fucking they hit the nuclear option and they do go for a Cody heel turn, which is unlikely to happen. I don't see it happening like at all.
Yeah. See,
So if you don't have that, you're kind of pissing in the wind, to be quite honest.
well, that's the other trouble that they have, is in a sense that obviously the build of the match itself is so weak that they can't justify it being the main event of night one. I'm sure they can, like in universe, and say like, oh, this like
Yeah,
again, a lot of it is down to the booking, isn't it? It's down to the build. It's down to how they kind of present the match. Even the match on paper is not tremendous. They can still put a feud. They can still put enough of a thing together in order to build a story to it, right? So obviously you have such amount of like backstory between Cody and Randy. There is stuff that you can pull out there out of the trunk and say, okay, here's some of our like kind of past discretions. Here's also WrestleMania fucking 15 years ago. Ignore the other guy who's being done for tax fraud. Um, so you have all these other things, right? So like there's other elements there that can pull into it. The trouble is that if something is going to happen in that match, you can't bury that in the middle of the show. Like you do have to give that top billing.
yeah,
So if they do end up, if the program is indeed Cody versus Randy by itself in a vacuum, then they have an awful lot of work to do to get to the same level of heat as Rhea and Jade, as Liv and Stephanie, and as Roman and Punk. Roman Punk is ending WrestleMania. I think we can all kind of comfortably
I
agree on
would be
that.
shocked if that doesn't end WrestleMania.
Yeah. So
Shocked.
it's a question then of what's really ending night one. Like potentially big retirement match maybe. I doubt it, but personally it could happen. You could also have, well, for what it's worth, I think it'd be reasonable to have like one of the women's matches end night one, because by the time that goes around, I think there'd be a quite confidence at least one of those matches, one of those feuds will have reached critical kind of heat in that respect, whether it be directly or indirectly, depending on what's happened. But at least something will have happened in that respect to be able to do it. So you mentioned Rhea Ripley earlier on, so let's switch to the women's elimination chamber then. The rightful winner, really, it has to be said. I think that was all. I think we kind of called it here on the podcast. We were quietly confident
Yeah,
that
it was
Rhea was probably
obviously.
going to win it.
Yeah.
Raquel had a good showing, in fairness, and I think that's kind of like that's more credence to her for what she does next after the Judgment Day split up and stuff like that, or maybe during it. We don't know. But at least now, one note I noticed that was very interesting to production, and maybe I think they must have done the same thing last year as well. Um, the one thing I did notice from the Elimination Chambers generally was that they did, and again, maybe they did last year and I just didn't notice, but they've been kind of actively calling their shot and saying the winners of these chambers is going to face ex champion at WrestleMania. Um, and again, interesting idea. Like in a way, like it was like you're actively saying we're not doing triple threats this year, in a sense. Like we're finding dance partners for these people that we have missing right away. And I thought to myself, that's interesting that you're kind of limiting yourself a little bit, but then also making it very clear that these are the feuds you're doing for WrestleMania. So it's like, in a
Mhm.
weird way, I kind of liked and disliked that it was limiting, if that makes sense.
Nacy, I'd question whether or not it is, because
Hmm.
I don't think they're done with the SmackDown main event. I think that next week, not to totally time this, but is Cody not getting another title match?
We were discussing
Yeah,
that,
we were
yeah,
just
and,
talking
and
about
we're,
that. Yeah.
we kind of convinced ourselves into thinking that it's going to be Cody Randy at Mania, but again, there's still that possibility of a multi-man match, as we were discussing there before you jumped on, Jamie. It's a bit of a hot mess at the minute. It's
Yes.
like very much a hot mess, and like it's kind of hard to say which way they're going with it, but like ultimately, it is the weaker of the four championship matches,
Mhm.
and either it's going to be a busted flush or it's just going to be a match that just doesn't make any sense. And I don't know which one is worse in terms of a WrestleMania, like potential night ending WrestleMania main event. Do you want a hot mess where something important happens at the end? Or do you want just, here's everybody in the pool and just go from there? Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Armageddon Hell in a Cell match. Just fucking go with it. Who cares? Just throw gimmicks at it.
Although, to be fair, the undisputed title, or the formerly undisputed title, just the WWE title now,
Just WWE title now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
has been absolutely aimless since the Bloodline saga ended.
Yep.
It has been, to be fair. Yeah. even with Cody on it, it hasn't. There's. It's like when Cody won it, it was great, and they
Mm,
had a couple of feuds, but in general, it has been very. The one heavyweight title has had much more of a coherent storyline
yeah.
running the whole way through it, whereas the WWE title kind of has had moments there where it's just like that is the belt for SmackDown.
Mm.
Anyway,
Well, I mean, in fairness, you could say that for both the men's and the women's because it has been kind of rudderless during Jade's reign as well. You know, it hasn't really been doing much in the last year,
yeah,
and I don't think it's any coincidence in the sense that they're kind of like almost in a way parachuting Rhea Ripley in to give that title some kind of like reputational boost. And no doubt, like again, we'll talk about the kind of the if there is beef, we will be talking about the beef later, but. I suppose like on the side of the elimination chamber aspect of it, like obviously Rhea was the strong favorite going in, and it was kind of nice to see that like the match kind of stayed on form in that respect. Like it was very necessary for WWE to get Rhea Ripley to WrestleMania in a higher profile match than what she was. It would have been a terrible waste of her to be in a tag team match, let's say. So I think thumbs up all around in that respect. So, how do we see the Rhea and Jade match in terms of say if we're doing a comparative with say Liv and Stephanie? I consider that like Rhea and Jade to be perhaps the weaker the match starting off, but because it's Rhea Ripley, because she has such a fantastic following and she's just so like she's obviously the best in show on the roster. I think surely you can pull a decent match out of Jade, and
I
no
think
doubt the
she is
feud's
going to
gonna be
put a
good as
decent
well.
match. I don't think she's going to win.
You don't think Rhea's gonna win?
I think they want to put something on Jade, and they
Hmm.
want to solidify her as the main eventer. And I think her being a prize fighting champion, where she doesn't defend the belt all that often, which is perfectly fine. I don't think a champion should have to defend their belt every month. I don't
Hmm.
give a shit if they do or not. Reigns proved that it can be done, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So if you have Jade beat Rhea at Mania and do a 1 year title reign, or even up to Survivor Series, you solidify her as a main eventer for the next fucking 2 or 3 years before she does eventually jump ship and do something else.
Hmm.
Because we all know she's going to do that anyway, and not in a bad way. Fair fucks to her.
Yeah.
I, like, you know what I mean? Like, clearly she's using it for other means, and that's absolutely fine. As long as she's not a completely shite actress, she's probably going to get a lot of roles. You know,
She has a look. No,
she does.
I think if she beats Rhea at Mania, even if she loses the belt that week on SmackDown, she'll be a solidified main eventer.
Yeah,
I think just having that would do it.
Hmm.
But I do think that Rhea Ripley being in the match is quintessentially because Bianca isn't ready to go. I
I think
think
it's
she's
fair. Yeah.
the stand-in because she's the only one who can get that match out of Jade at this
Mm.
point.
Yeah.
that would have been the move. I think we all kind of agree. They probably had that in their heads when they put the belt on her. Because they
Mm.
were probably like, we'll get her back eventually. I know she's not back, but I was like, well, the next best thing is Rhea.
Mm.
And that's absolutely fine. You could even leave the belt on Jade for 8 months and have her lose it to Bianca at Survivor Series of SummerSlam. Because she probably should be back by then. I don't think it was that fucking bad, is it?
We were
Like,
talking
is
about it
it
last week.
really?
Like it's yeah, we don't know yet, but I think
I
it could
know
very
I
well
know it's
be that.
bad. I know it's not great, but I don't think it's that bad. She's going to be out for a year. I think I disagreed with that. I actually was in work when I listened to it, so I audibly went, "That's not happening." As I was doing it.
So if that's not a glowing
So
endorsement of our podcast, like you listen to GrapsWatch, where core people disagree on a weekly basis. Uh,
so I was just like, I don't see her being out for that long. I think
mm,
she will be back, but it'll
yeah,
still be about 8 months before she is there. I
yeah,
would imagine it'll probably be SummerSlam, the end of the summer, start of the autumn when she does come back, which is
mm,
fine. But you could just leave the belt in her until then, and then you would have her lose it. Do what they
yeah,
did with Becky. Have her lose the belt at SummerSlam, and have
mm,
her work her way back up to Mania and win it back again,
yeah,
like they did with Becky and Bianca when everyone was up in arms when she lost the belt at SummerSlam, and then she won it back at Mania because Becky does that because she's class.
yeah. Well,
So
again, you've been giving us the transition, so we'll talk. We'll touch upon that next. Now that AJ Lee is now our intercontinental champion, um, seemingly there's no more contenders being lined up to take her on at WrestleMania. Few interesting pair ups potentially. What do you make like? Obviously, there's a lot being made about if AJ Lee is actually going to be like a full-time champion. She's saying that she is, obviously, which is great to see. But it's more of a case of like, is with what AJ Lee is going to have as it were as a mid-card champion and stuff like this. What role do you think she best plays? Is she better off having these kind of like little trademark feuds with like people she can pair up with, let's say, or is she kind of like more suited to not being in the title picture, just getting, shall we say,
I think
getting
she,
like other girls set up and ready to go in terms of like giving them the rub as well as Becky was doing beforehand?
yeah, I think she can do what Becky's doing and what Punk is currently doing with the world title.
Mm,
But the difference is that Punk had at least had a couple of years before he was the world champion, whereas AJ Lee could run a storyline for a while saying, is she even up for it anymore? Can she
yeah,
even
yeah.
do it? Even though she did beat Becky, great. Is she good enough to keep this going
Mm,
for a sustained period of time? And then you would eventually give her a world title match at some point. Like her and Liv could probably have a really good match, to be quite honest. I think the two of them would work
Yeah.
very well together. So I'm looking forward to it. And that's just mainly just out of the fact that I like AJ Lee anyway. So
yeah, I like really with AJ. Like AJ is always going to be like certainly kind of over to some degree anyway. I think it's more of a case of like what's the best way to use her in that sense because like I said, like she has a name kind of like quality if anything. So
I do think that giving her the mid-card title was very clever because I think I even predicted it on the last show that I was thinking like, okay, they'll give her the moment in Chicago and then they'll give it back to Becky at Mania. It'll all
mm,
continue like nothing ever happened. But I do think that there's an opportunity here as well that a lot of people have been kind of saying, and I've seen the discourse on the internet with
mm,
people basically saying, oh, wait, is she as good as we remember? Or was
mm.
the scene just so dire at the time that she seemed better by comparison, but now it's all evolved past her? The Intercontinental title is the perfect title to hold to prove that she still has it,
Yeah, it's a fair
provided
point. I
she
mean, like,
can.
yeah, it can be the workhorse belt when it wants to be. So, and as I said, like, I think a lot of people have done, and Becky in particular, I think has done great work to make that championship relevant. Because like I said, we do have to remember that like the both those mid card titles are very young, and they've been built up in very different ways. Like with Chelsea Green's kind of
yeah,
shtick, very very perfect, very bespoke for a United States Championship because everyone does a fucking like stupid Mister or Mrs. America gimmick when they
yeah,
have the American title. So it makes sense that like she might as well lean into it and become a sell parody. And Becky, in a weird way, also sell Paradise, but in a different way. So like she's trying to make this the biggest title, even though it's clearly the fucking mid card title, and she doesn't want to accept it, which I think is a great little meta commentary in that sense. Um, so while again on when it comes to Chicago natives, we might as well finish off then with Punk and Balor. So match wise, I thought the match was absolutely brilliant. I thought like they were very, very snug, very physical, quite a very strong style match, which I wasn't expecting to be perfectly honest. Um, and this is the one frustration I had watching the entire show. And again, I don't know whether this is Netflix production or it's kind of like some sort of sweetening done after the fact. But I thought that was an absolutely fucking appalling crowd for that show. Like
yeah.
I like for
I don't know what I've seen of it was very poor. It didn't seem like a Chicago crowd at all.
it was dreadful. Like I mean, like it's again, it's I don't know whether it's one of those kind of a Mandela effects that like the Chicago crowd has to be good just because they're all wrestling nerds, but like that crowd were not wrestling heads at all. Like like that was very much like a template WWE crowd with all the phones out. Like I was
Mm.
baffled by how poor the crowd was. Like okay, we might talk about the Danhausen like debut later, but in a way because the crowd was so shit, it actually made the debut funnier in that
Yeah.
respect. I think it'll actually kind of set him better as being in such a damn script of a character in that way. But my God, like the stuff that Punk and Balor were given in the ring, I was even saying to Kira at the time, this crowd does not deserve this match. They can fuck off. Like this match was brilliant. And if it was at WrestleMania, I think it would have been plaudits for it from the crowd
Mm.
themselves because they would be seeing the fucking boot prints on the face and saying, "Oh shit, they're actually knocking lumps out of each other."
Yeah.
That crowd couldn't care. Like it was probably the mildest CM Punk entrance I've seen in a long time, even with the Michael Jordan stuff around it.
Oh,
Like,
that was cool, though. That was
yeah.
such a cool fucking
But
entrance.
even when he was doing the walkouts, the people that were there as extras ignored him. Like there was not even like they do head turns or something. They were literally just some pricks, like influencers or fucking like VIP passes or something, and they were there just in the fucking way. It was like get out of the shop, people. Like, like this is meant to be the world champion here. Like fucking former Q, you bitch. Like fucking get out of the way. Like. I just thought it was mental. I thought it was just for it was kind of a question I was going to pose it as well because I thought Elimination Chamber was a meh pay-per-view overall, means to an end type of thing. But then I thought to myself, it, even if every match is coherent and every match is good quality wise, I really do feel like the crowd is a quantifiable like amount into that show as well. Like, are we a little, not want to say a little bit spoiled, but are we now so used to having pay-per-views in like territories outside of America with crowds that actually kind of appreciate the action more? And I am calling these out, lads. These are a bunch of dickheads with it sometimes. But okay, and then granted, okay, sometimes the European crowd's going to be a bit much like going ape shit over a fucking hip toss. That's totally acceptable as well. But I'd rather French people
But
get
again,
mental and chant for them as opposed to do anything else, you know?
yeah, I mean, we all know American fans are just selfish anyway because they get it every other week. They've
Hmm.
got
Yeah,
three
you see, I
major
think
wrestling
that's
confidence.
Yeah.
No, go on, Jimmy.
I do think that Chicago is totally oversaturated.
That's what I thought
There's
too, because I
been
felt like every show, like everyone was running Chicago every fucking 3 or 4 weeks. Like,
Yep,
yeah.
it's diminishing returns. Like, I mean, at this point, do they really care?
No, I think I think both companies need to realize, well, here this place has birth for about 6 months. They probably
Hmm.
enjoy it more because Tony keeps going back there. How he keeps managing to get at least a half decent crowd every time is genuinely impressive, considering how the whole Punk thing went and the
Yeah.
fact that he went out in front of a live crowd when it was fair for my life.
Well, it's more
Um,
affordable, I presume. That's probably one of the biggest things, that the ticket prices aren't like as fleecy as they are for like
yeah,
Elimination Chamber probably was like what 200. Like if you have the ticket price at like 200, 250 a head, you're shopping in a totally different market than your average wrestling fan. You know what I mean? Like so like with AEW, if their prices are only like 16, 18 quid a head, I'm going to fucking AEW instead of Elimination Chamber. Fuck the lot of yous. Like I don't care. I'll miss Punk here if it means I get to act the bollocks at AEW instead. You know what I mean? Like that's my attitude in a sense. Like I want to actually like enjoy the wrestling show and not like have to fucking remortgage the house to go and see it. So maybe that's what's kind of pushing people away a little bit. I don't know, but I really thought I was so let down with the crowd in that sense. And if there was one negative from the whole show, I think it was that. And of course the rampant capitalism of having a sponsor every 5 minutes. But I mean, what's new there? Um, so I suppose with
I
all
can
go
I
for
be
it.
in the minority here with this? I don't mind there being sponsors in the ring.
No, sponsors in the ring is fine.
Never bothered me at all. I no the clean mat is fine and it looks pretty,
Yeah.
I suppose. But wrestling fans getting up in arms about it, I'm like, is it really that big of a deal?
I'm picking my battles here on this one because I think ring aprons and like having sponsorships generally is fine because again that's wrestling. It is an inherently like sponsor heavy sport, but you know matches like sponsored by the U.S. Air Force, fucking
Okay, that's
Real
yeah,
American
that's a
vodka, that
bit
fucking
far.
oxymoron. Like, can we just knock this shit on the head, please? Like fucking hell, people, come on! Like it's an
Isn't
international company.
isn't that Braun Strowman's? Oh no, is that Braun
Cody's,
Strowman's one?
Cody's, isn't it?
Oh no, Braun Strowman was only in the ads.
Yeah,
He was in the ads. Yeah,
yeah.
I
yeah,
also think that it
yeah.
sometimes encroaches too far, but they seem to have learned that lesson. Was it at
Mm.
WrestleMania where they had like War Raiders come out for Raid, some mobile app game,
Yeah, it's shite.
and
It's
it
one of
was
I
just
those.
love,
Yeah.
like,
I love hearing you about to say Raid Shadow Legends because that's the one mobile game everyone fucking knows from YouTube.
Yeah. I think it was Clash of Clans, I think, or something like that. But they're all cookie cutters.
yeah,
They're all copy
Clash of
paste
Clans,
jobs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. But again, that's a perfect example. It's like they should have had fucking Drew McIntyre dress up as some prick from fucking Borderlands, I think, or something. It's
yes.
like, come on, people. Like it's like this is like it's only a tie-in is only cool when the person's in on it rather than just being assigned to the person. Like, if Lyra Valkyria dresses up as a character from a Fort Wing, that's great. But you know why? Because it fucking matches and she probably loves the book. So let her do her own tie-in. Not just you are now gonna dress like a Hufflepuff. Is like, do I get a say in the matter? No. Nope, just fucking do it. Put the colors on. You have no say in the matter. That's when it's prescribed. I think is the problem. But that is a battle we'll pick when WrestleMania comes around.
Yeah.
Jamie, seeing that you missed us there when we're talking about the men's elimination chamber, we'll give you a chance to kind of get your 2 cents on it. Obviously, we've discussed about how now obviously Randy, in a way, was almost like the third story in the match between Seth Rollins coming back and then Cody kind of losing it and making himself the story. So, what are your two cents on the match, and obviously how the kind of SmackDown side of things is kind of shaping up then?
I like I kind of alluded to, I think it's weirdly directionless. It's
Mm,
it's messy,
yeah.
which also makes it unpredictable, which I suppose is a positive.
Mm,
I kind of love that Randy won. It wasn't who I had picked. And I'm not on board with the Cody just steamrolling everyone for everything. So I was a
mm,
big fan of the finish. Um, Seth coming back feels inevitable. That feels a little vaguely upsetting that he made it back, but Braun is now out. And then Bronson is also out
mm.
because they really are cursed. Danhausen had his effect. Um,
And he wasn't even there to give the effect. He was
yeah,
probably just at home going, "You are cursed."
doing it from
So,
afar.
can we talk about Danhausen and how shit slash brilliant the debut was? Like, I think
Yeah.
is there I noticed there like us as Irish wrestling fans can absolutely say that there is a market for ironic wrestling characters because Irish wrestling is fucking made of them. There was an entire roster of them once upon a time in the Tivoli that I used to watch every fucking month, and they're all 100% ironic. There's one really good wrestler in there, and he went to Florida first chance he could get. But at the very least, the fact, like, again, the crowd booing him was hilarious in a sense because again there was a kind of the air of entitlement was kind of there since the start anyway for the Chicago crowd, but just how goofy and hokey it was ideal. It was literally, I think Dave Meltzer called it the gobbledygooker of our age, and you know what I said? Fucking embrace it. Be the gobbledygooker of the age. Like let's just rip the piss and just
By
like
the way,
be
I
that.
wish we had on the football podcast we have
Yeah.
COD of the week or whatever. I wish we had this for this because fucking sick of Dave Meltzer. He's
Yeah.
Maybe that's a story.
fucking
We might introduce that gimmick at another time. We'll have to just give it a wrestling.
because and it's just to quickly go back to the Rhea Ripley thing with thing, and it'll be 2 seconds. Everyone for a cup for like an hour or six was like, "Oh fuck, did they actually hate each other?" And then he came out with like, "Oh no, they don't. It's not a storyline." I'm like, could you not let that go for like 5 minutes? Could you not just let it fucking go and just let us fucking enjoy it?
No,
Yeah,
because it's
whatever.
WWE. I
No,
can
but it was
guarantee
Dave
you if
Meltzer.
it was AEW, he wouldn't have said a word.
Yeah, it's difficult.
No,
Like
he wouldn't
it's
have.
yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't have. But it's just like, oh my god, they had me, and then you fucking made me go, ah, shit, yeah, dressing.
Like
Fuck.
there is something to be said about like again like journalism and wrestling is an interesting topic that we might do on a podcast when things are quiet. But like there's a difference between being in the magic circle and then trying to fuck over someone else's magic circle, rather than just like like you can't really do that. But also like is it a bad thing that you just kind of play along and kind of like report the gimmicks or the storylines? I don't know. That's a conversation the other day. The day, but
But see, the thing is, the gobbledygooker thing makes no fucking sense either
no.
because the gobbledygooker thing was bad,
Yes.
and I think as Bruce Pritchard said, I think it was meant to be bad.
Mm.
Whereas the Danhausen thing was not meant to be bad; it was meant to
Yeah.
be goofy.
Yes.
And it was meant to get a reaction. No, it didn't get the reaction I think that they wanted. They were probably maybe hoping for a bigger reaction off the crowd, but as we said, the Chicago crowd that night was crap,
Yeah.
so we didn't get it. The
Mm.
booing was only just because they didn't do anything. The booing
I think
happens directly after the lights go off.
I
So
think
they're
the
like, "Oh
genuine
shit, we're
issue
nothing's happening."
I think genuine issue, and we also alluded to the fact that it wasn't a kind of heavily smirked crowd.
Mm.
Like they weren't deep in
Mm.
the wrestling bubble. I think a lot of people didn't know who he was.
I believe that too. I
Like
totally believe that. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
for some reason, and again, Uncle Dave has a lot to answer for with it. For
Mm.
some reason, people thought Jericho was coming out of the box, which would have made fuck all sense.
Yeah.
But I think the way they played it was
I
perfect
I
because the
was
way
in
they
that I was in that pack though with the Jericho thing because I thought it would have been very funny if Jericho came out of a box. because
I was
as Jim
expecting
Cornette
it to
says,
press Johnny Gargano, to be honest, because he's been sleeping on crates the entire week last come on the run up to this. So
yeah, no, I Jericho in my head was like that would have been a new fun way to get him back.
Mm.
For the lights to go off, the thing to open up, and then his jacket to be hanging down or something, then the jacket was back and whatever. I thought that would have been fun. But as we now learned, AEW have done that thing where because he took time off, they're like, oh, your contract's frozen. So we probably won't see him till next year. I think he's got another year left in that deal. So yeah.
Hopefully never.
Hopefully never, exactly.
I do think
again,
that,
the funniest thing about the whole thing for me was that when he does his little pose and it's just one like they did it last time as well. I think that it's a little note they've taken with Orange Cassidy and AEW with this, where Danhausen does his little thing and like it's a little cat pan out to the arena, and like the lighting rig is in shot and it's just one spooter goes off. It's just
Yeah.
like it's one.
That's all
yes.
you get.
But the terrible pyro, I think, was nearly part of it as well. That the
Absolutely.
reaction
Yeah.
feeds into how kind of bad they were making it.
Yeah.
That it was meant to be this kind of like, he is goofy, he's kooky.
Yeah.
He handed Michael Cole a jar of teeth. We'll
Yeah.
see if he explains that it's
Yeah.
because they're not foreign objects. The teeth
Which
are
he
belong
had-
in the mouth.
Yeah.
But
Which was fun as well because he had the teeth again the next night. So that means Michael Cole probably went into the bathroom and was like, take your teeth back.
It was the exact same teeth as well. It was like,
Yeah, it was the
make
exact
sure
same
it's
jar
not
of
taken.
teeth. Yeah.
but I do think that also from the just general reaction of disappointment that people had around Danhausen, it all did a 180 on Raw as soon as he got one segment in.
Yeah.
All he needed to do was talk.
Yeah.
And suddenly people were like, oh, okay, yeah, we're on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was brilliant. As I said to Jonathan before we started, I've watched that bit about 10 times. It's
Fair.
so good. It's
But if you
so
think about
fucking
it,
good.
There's a spot in WWE, and it's been there for a long time. And for a long time, it was Santino, and then it was R-Truth, and it's been R-Truth for a minute.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of the funny, goofy wrestling comedy character.
Mm.
And Truth's in his 50s. So having Danhausen in to fill that spot for years to come, I see no issues.
Yeah. I
No.
mean, as I said, I think WWE have been I think they've kind of like insured themselves a little bit because with the way they've been booking Joe Hendry in that sense, because Joe Hendry still is a comedy character, but he also has a luxury of being able to wrestle well. And have like be able to actually kind of work in the ring in a sense. Again, much like the kind of LNI thing, doesn't have to be ripping up trees with technical wrestling. Joe Hendry is a technical wrestler. He is very, very good just generally. But the path of least resistance is be able to make some goofy fucking songs and have a gimmick that works. And his Beetlejuice gimmick is working perfectly. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say that 3 times because we know what happens. But at the very least, with Danhausen, he comes at it from the other angle where he can just be either weird, goofy, or spooky. And that's a great choice to have because in that segment in Raw, he was all three. You know what I mean? Like it was a perfect character introduction. And maybe the learning was because the crowd reaction wasn't the best. Danhausen throwing that line in was like rapturous applause and dead silence in the crowd again. Fucking brilliant. He knows what he's doing. The man knows what he's doing. So we'll see how he goes in that one. I fully expect him to debut at WrestleMania to end night 1 because I just don't want to see Cody versus Randy Orton end at night 1. So I'd rather have Danhausen take on a stick. To be perfect.
I did see a
Danhausen,
thing
Kit Wilson.
Now that would be toxic versus Teeth is an intriguing pair up. I like that. I like that a lot. That would work out really well. Anyway, while we're on this
I have seen
coverage,
just before we finish there because of the segment that happened. Somebody said that with the Judgment Day probably ending soon, Dominic's gonna need something to do because he's probably gonna lose that AAA belt as well. It seems. I think it's likely that he'll end his little run there that he has with AAA. So it makes sense that the curse doesn't stop now, and it gets worse and worse. He loses the AAA belt. He gets kicked out of the Judgment Day. He loses Liv.
That'd be good.
He goes on a fucking an awful losing streak, and it only gets to the point where he has to like either beat Danhausen or just get a win to break the curse. And you could let that run for months of him just getting worse and worse and worse. He loses all the belts. Liv has got a belt. She, was like, I don't want to hang around with losers. He's a loser now. shave off the mustache, which is a big part of his look. Just do something to fuck him over every couple of weeks, which would be very funny. So I feel like if they do if they're going to actually do the curse thing, legitimize it by actually fucking the person over that gets the curse.
And again, Dom is a great dance partner for that as well. Like you forget how much of a comedy character Dom Mysterio actually is. Like the Judgment Day is like took himself so seriously for so long that like he gets like massive villain heat, but before that he was a goofball as well. So like it both works out either way. But no, I actually really I like that idea. It's like literally like is that kind of Homer Simpson meme was like, oh no, the AAA belt and Liv and all the rest.
Yeah.
You know, I think that would work out really well. Okay then. So with all that conversation in mind, let's jump then to our top graps. And see who has made the list, if so. So with that then, yes, our top 10. So obviously, if you're new to this podcast, we basically have like a rolling list of our top 10 most interesting wrestlers in the world at the moment. Obviously, it's very WWE oriented at present because obviously there's been a lot of things going on and things have been a bit dormant in AEW and at Impact and elsewhere. So I think the way we'll do this, we'll probably like kind of chip in with a name that we think should make the list, and then one that we'll probably throw out. I think it'd be reasonable to say probably AJ Styles will probably come off the list now because obviously he's retired, and we will be talking about him later. But who shall we add on to the list? So we mentioned Obafemi last week. And that would be still my pick for this week because while there were developments for most people in the chamber, I don't think there was anything immediately that sets them stratosphere wise. It's more kind of like okay, great that sets them off to WrestleMania type of thing, or kind of decides their fate a little bit rather than making them kind of really kind of hot in that sense. What about you guys? Have you got any kind of names you would suggest for the list yourselves?
I'd be inclined to say just for the sheer kind of who are people talking about in the wrestling industry, Danhausen.
Yeah. Okay.
He's gotten a lot of attention this week.
Yeah, for better for worse, according to him.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Aaron?
I don't have anyone in my head. Like Danhausen is probably it. And that's just because it's not that nothing's happened, it's just that nothing's really changed all that much. I don't have the list in front of me because I had it on my phone, but I
have it here. I'll give you the list as it is now. So
I can't go off the thing that I currently have in the corner of my eye at the moment. So.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you the list as it stands now. So in the ascending order, we've got Raquel Rodriguez at 10, Mike Santana at 9, AJ Styles at 8, MJF 7th, Gunther at 6th, Jacob Fatu at 5th, Drew McIntyre 4th, Finn Balor 3rd, Liv Morgan 2nd, and CM Punk top of the board.
I just want you to take AJ Styles out and put Danhausen.
Okay, so we're agreeing on Danhausen making the list anyway.
Yeah, because he had, I guess, for him, the kind of the perfect debut. To be quite honest. And then the following up the next night was also great. So
yeah,
I think for him, he's started off well.
Yeah.
But like Rhea winning the Elimination Chamber it's obviously the right choice, just isn't as big as, let's say, Liv winning the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's more important, I guess. Randy winning the Elimination Chambers, whatever. I don't mind it. I don't watch enough of AEW to care. No matter how many people ask me, I'm not going to all in. I can't be arsed. I don't know. Did anyone win a belt this week? Did any titles change hands?
Well, an argument, AJ Lee.
Yeah, AJ Lee will be one.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, you could put AJ Lee in there. Take out Raquel and put in AJ. I think will probably be it.
I think Raquel had a pretty decent showing in the chamber, to be honest. I thought she did pretty well. Like, Like
She did, but
yeah.
I think if you're going to just be like, she did a decent showing, but she still lost. Whereas AJ had her first title match since
Would
2012,
Yeah.
would there be something
and
poetic about swapping AJ for AJ?
Maybe there would be actually, yeah, yeah. There
yeah,
certainly could be. We need, yeah, maybe that's an doctrine in our list. We have to have at least an AJ
we have to have an
in our
AJ
list
on
at
the
any given
list.
point. So yeah, fucking AJ from the Costco boys have to be on the list at some point.
AJ Francis and TNA licking his lips.
Oh, he's fourth on my list in any fucking scenario. So let's settle on what we on our list anyway. So we're happy that AJ Styles going off. So are we gonna settle on AJ Lee or Danhausen for our new entry? What are we going for?
I'm genuinely happy either way.
Nah, I'm happy either way. Go with
Okay.
Danhausen because it was funnier. Go
Okay,
with
well
Danhausen because
then
it was
we'll
funnier.
make Danhausen on the list. So number wise, let's put him on the board first, and we can kind of compare. We can compare and contrast with everyone else. So where on the top 10 would you like to place Danhausen as a new entry?
Number 10.
I would,
Just for
yeah,
now. The ironically bad.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I like that. I like that.
yeah.
So therefore, that kind of means that everyone's bumped up one a little bit. So Raquel Rodriguez could could move up to ninth or higher, depending on your point of view. But we have Mike Santana ninth at the moment, so maybe we could probably keep Mike at ninth.
He
I
himself
tell
and
you what,
Leon
I don't.
Slater against the Nemeths happened this week. That
Oh,
was
that was
pretty good.
tasty. Yeah. Okay. Well then,
My
The
God,
other,
though, how terrible Nick's brother is.
I was about to say, Nick's
I just
brother
called
is still
Nick's brother says
wrestling.
a lot.
Jesus, I didn't
He's
even
not
know he
even
was still
full name to
fucking in
this.
TNA. God damn it.
Yeah.
Presumably as a favor to his brother.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the only reason why you would keep him inside there, to be honest.
I can assure you that's not the case in the Mirror Universe. Because there wasn't space for him. Um, but yeah, well, in fairness, we can just move everyone up one. So Raquel goes to ninth, and Mike Santana moves up to eighth. So that could work.
Although
Um,
she did have a very good showing in the chamber.
yeah, yeah. So we
So
can,
who's ahead?
yeah. Well, but in that case, we'll swap them around then. So Mike Santana will stay at ninth, and Raquel Rodriguez will be on eighth. Then I'm happy to keep MJF seventh. To be perfectly honest, I think everything's been kind of steady with him, really. Um,
Has he done anything this week?
Again, you could argue we could move him down the list. To be honest, like that's like if he hasn't been doing anything and people have been active, we could move MGF down to ninth.
Who's he facing? Who's his feud right now?
I think it's well, I don't think they haven't like I don't know if they're still kind of working the stuff with Brody King at the moment, but I think he's probably moved on to other
What the
people at
fucking
this stage,
call?
isn't he?
In my head, I was about to call him Brody Lee, and I was like, oh, he's dead. He can't be.
No, as much as he can try, I don't think he can wrestle Brody Lee. Um,
I think from that sheer reaction, he probably deserves to go down to number 9.
yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
The fact that it's what did he do this week and everyone was head scratching going,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
So what we need to
yeah.
get for him for this, just as we talk for AW wrestlers, just get Dave in for 5 minutes, talk about what happened in AW, just get him off it.
It genuinely might be helpful having that kind of recap because, like I said, it's I know it's my blind spot at the moment because it's just like just not having to be able to time with it and algorithms betraying me a little bit as well. Jacob had to
Well,
briefly feature that
it's
much
in my
himself,
blind
so
spot because it's all shite. Go
yeah,
on.
that could be it too. Yeah. So we didn't have much mentions between Jacob and Liv Morgan this week, so they could possibly move down the list. I think Finn Balor would probably move up to second, really based off the
oh yeah,
match at Chamber. So,
Oh.
I
yeah,
think we're happy
that
with Punk
was,
and Balor as first and second anyway. I think that's reasonable to say.
I'd agree with that.
Um, Again, I think Gunter would be a bit of a mover here, considering he knocked the fucking mask off Dragon Lee. I think that was probably worthwhile, wouldn't it? Not
Yep.
like on his effort to like ruin wrestling forever. So
That was great, just down to the fact that everyone was freaking out about it, and I saw the actual video, and I was like, no one could see it. And
yeah,
Sean Ross
exactly.
Sapp is a knob.
Yeah. Again, on that question of knob of cods as it were. Um. So yeah,
Yeah.
we can move Gunter up to
Just
maybe third or fourth,
for,
maybe.
for research purposes, I looked up MJF and what he's doing right now, and the big hype is he's defending the title against Kevin Knight.
Who?
Ninth it is then. So
He should be grateful we're only removing one.
yes, exactly. So we could probably move Gunter up to fourth or third, depending on your preferences. What would you rather? we have currently left to fill out. We have Liv, Drew, Jacob, Fatu, and Gunter to move around. Basically, if we're moving battle up to second.
Gunter's spot was going to be great, so I would just keep him.
Yeah. I'd go number 3.
Gunter 3, and then Drew 4th or Liv 4th.
Probably Liv, because Drew's about to be hitting the head and getting told, but he might be winning the belt. She ain't going to WrestleMania with it. So,
I think he is, but I also think he's playing a master level troll. Just
the only reason I don't think he's going out with that man hasn't tweeted in days.
Do you think he's in a sulk like Sasha Banks style?
I think he's genuinely in a sulk, and he hasn't tweeted or put anything out in fucking days that has even remotely hyped up that match. So either A, they're going to play into it, and he's so angry at Nick that he's seething, and he's not trusting himself to say anything, or B, he's in the depths of a fucking depression we have never seen from a Scot since probably the peak of 90s heroin use. And
I was going to say them being knocked out of the World Cup, but that also works too.
Yeah. So it's either that, it's either that or but see, him losing as well could actually have Nick Aldis have a Mania match, which is another possibility that's been floated around, which I'm fine with, because Nick Aldis deserves a match at the biggest show in the world. To
be fair, they were looking to do the same thing with Adam Pearce and Steiner, so that kind of checks out as well. That's fair. Okay, well, so let's lock it in. We'll go with Drew then at 4th in that case then, and then that would leave Liv Morgan at 5th and Jacob Fatu at 6th. Going by our discourse here. Yeah. So our list as it stands now in ascending order. New entry at number 10, Danhausen. Number 9, MJF. Number 8, Mike Santana. Number 7, Raquel Rodriguez. Number 6, Jacob Fatu. Number 5, Liv Morgan. Number 3, Drew McIntyre. Number 4, I should say, Drew McIntyre. Number 3, Gunter. Number 2, Finn Balor. And top of the board for, I think, the 2nd or 3rd week in a row, CM Punk. So there you go.
It's very hard being the best wrestler in the world.
Well, it helps when you are carrying the championship and the brand, if we're being perfectly honest. So, speaking of carrying the brands, gentlemen, it's time to dip into the Mirror Universe with some creative control.
Personality. I know your anger. I know your dreams. I've been everything you wanna be. Oh, I am a cult of personality. Like Mussolini and Kennedy. New world order. The cult of personality, the cult of personality, the cult of personality.
So,
I get to fix some of the shit that you've done to me the last couple of weeks.
Oh, that's what you think, Aaron. Well, let's see. Let's find out. Because I think you listened to last week's podcast. You know there's an Uno of Damocles hanging over your head here.
I know there is.
So, first of all, you have to win well, and then don't be Aaron when it comes to the choices. You must resist urges. I love how
everyone's like, all the shit decisions that I made. It's a fake universe based off of a wrestling game. Of course, I'm going to pick the best wrestlers in the wrestling game to be on my roster to give me the best matches in the wrestling game.
I think it's more the incredulity of just having the entire fucking bloodline on the developmental show. I think that's what kind of like...
That's not my fault. I was able to fucking pick them. All right? It's not my fault. I had the chance to pick the most popular wrestlers in the world, one of them being the best wrestler in the game, to be on my fucking roster. Fuck me, am I right? Jesus Christ.
Definitely an element of, like, play for the brand, though.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
I did
NXT
some.
is a super indie in this universe, and I'm all up for it. Like that Wednesday card was brilliant.
I
Like,
did in some cases because one of the things that I wanted to do was make a developmental brand for some people on the roster, and he actually proved my point with it because Sol Rucker lost a belt and immediately got moved up to the main roster.
But that's
so
true.
in some
Yeah.
cases it'll work, right? It doesn't
Yes.
have to work every time; it just has to
When
work
some of us make it work.
yeah, you're being forced into it is the different matter. Anyway, so we're on to the Elimination Chamber for this week's round of Creative Control. So yes, obviously only the one pay-per-view on this one. And let me tell you folks, the card could not be any more different than what we had in the real world. For one, we've got 7 matches on the card because that's how the game works. So we are going to start off. I'll start with a bit of a recap of what's been happening elsewhere. Obviously, Raw and SmackDown have been kind of working on kind of like, Elimination Chamber prep. I've mentioned that there's a champion versus champion match being set up on SmackDown between Becky Lynch and Naomi for the 2 women's championships. So that's going to happen at Elimination Chamber. Stay tuned for that. Similarly, on the Raw side, Nia Jax is going to be challenging Io Sky for that women's championship as well. Natalia defended the Intercontinental title against Ivy Nile and retained in that one. There's been a few mid-card titles being defended. On Dynamite, Kota Ibushi defended his international title against Shelton Benjamin, which was a bit of a banger. That might make the edit. Ibushi retained on that one. And I think on the previous Impact, I think I mentioned... Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention that Mustafa Ali was challenged by Big E for the X Division Championship before No Surrender. And obviously Mustafa Ali retained because he ended up fighting Joe Coffey at No Surrender. On NXT, we had a banger of a triple threat between Ricky Sainz, Ethan Page, and Samoa Joe in a non-title triple threat match. And Ricky Sainz won that by pinning Joe. So perhaps that could be the feud going into Stan on Deliver, which is a fantastic name if you're an Ordy. So let's move on then to the Elimination Chamber itself. Starting off with the Women's Chamber. So in the match was Dakota Kai, Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, Shayna Baszler, Lyra Valkyria, and Alex Windsor. So one of these 6 is your choice to have won the chamber.
Charlotte.
Aaron's going for Charlotte.
Just to be different from Aaron, Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley. Well, you'd be shocked to hear, gang, that you're both wrong on this one. So
Yeah, there was a bit in my head going, it's going to be like fucking Windsor or something.
these are tricky ones in fairness because they are 6-person matches now. In fairness, so this one is a bit tough. But would you believe going to WrestleMania to challenge both Michelle McCool and the women's champion at WrestleMania is Alex Windsor? And she pinned Rhea Ripley to do so. On the conversation we had earlier on about Jade Cargill, Alex Windsor's getting put over here. So there you go. I'll have to double check to see if Will Ospreay is indeed the booker of the Mirror Universe, but I'm starting to grow suspicious, to be perfectly honest, because I haven't seen him so far on Dynamite, so I don't know where the fuck he is. He's up to no good. So yeah, we're gonna have Alex Windsor at WrestleMania, lads. What a time to be alive. Next up then is, sticking with the women, is for the Women's World Championship match, Extreme Rules, nonetheless, with the defending champion Io Sky versus Nia Jax.
Io.
Nia.
We have a new women's champion, everybody. And it pains me to say it, but Nia Jax is the women's champion on Raw going into WrestleMania after beating Io Sky in Extreme Rules. And long may she fucking reign. Let's not say we didn't. So yes, Jamie, you are leading 1-0 on this one. So
yeah, but at what cost?
Exactly. You felt dirty when you said it. I know you. I can see it in you.
It was the monkey's paw. You won, but at what cost?
Exactly. It means now that Nia Jax now is in a WrestleMania main event, and that's what really gives us the ick. Next up then,
is she?
Well, we
There's
don't know.
Creative control on the line here.
Well, exactly, yeah. Oh no, she's pulled up an ACL injury. What a shame. Anyway, so WWE Tag Team titles on the line. The hot feud of SmackDown between Chase U and DIY. Chase U, of course, the champions at the moment after taking the titles off DIY. This is their rematch in a tables match, no less.
I'm gonna go with DIY.
I'm also going to go with DIY.
And you're both correct. The DIY got the titles back. In record fashion, by the way. It was literally a minute and then bang, suplex into her table, done and dusted.
Fair.
It's like apparently Chase U as being tag champions was just a fever dream we all had for a month, and we just pretended it never happened. Um, it's, it's like someone just realized, oh shit, I pressed the wrong button on the booking machine. Let me just fix that next month.
It's like the
Um,
referee counted the pin when they were meant to kick out, so now they need to rework it.
that's it exactly. That's exact. I choose to believe that's correct. Right in the middle of the show is a WWE Championship match. Somewhat of a shock already called by Jerry Soule. However, it's happened a month earlier. Kevin Owens versus new recruit to SmackDown, CM Punk.
Punk.
Yeah, I think CM Punk may have just won the title.
And he did indeed, lads. He did
Mhm.
indeed. So he has recovered well from losing the title to Solo Sikoa on Raw by just fucking off to SmackDown and just winning the title there. So that'll do. That'll do nicely on that one.
Yeah.
so so there
Tracks.
you go. Yeah, that's how's that for a fucking for a transfer window. Um, next up then is the only non-title match of the show is tag team match between the Kabuki Warriors of Kairi Sane and Asuka versus the Judgment Day of Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez.
Living Roxanne.
I'm gonna go Kabuki.
And in this match, the Judgment Day won the match in the end. So we're all level 3-3. And now we're into the match with two titles on the line. So double belts on the line here, the Women's Championship and the United States Championship. Becky Lynch versus Naomi.
Becky.
Becky.
Yeah, it can only be Becky on this one. So she is now Becky two belts, as Laura's demanded, and seemingly on the SmackDown side, we're going to have Becky Lynch versus Michelle McCool versus Alex Windsor for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
That sounds like a bag on right left, to be honest.
That's an eclectic mix of
Eclectic.
wrestlers. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, all three nationalities are represented there. You got the English, the Irish, and the Christians. It's great. Everyone's represented. Like, fucking the most Catholic fucking match you could ever make. Bar fucking put Mother Teresa as special referee. So we're four-piece going into the final match, which is the men's elimination chamber. Now, when I say stacked, boys, fucking stacked. We have Randy Orton. We have Bobby Lashley. We have Logan Paul. We have Brock Lesnar. We have Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes.
Oh dear.
Like half of me's going, the game's done. What to do with the first one? My brain says Logan Paul. My stomach says Lesnar.
Okay, interesting.
Can I split that up? And if I don't one of them win, I get half a point.
We don't do half points here, Aaron. You're gonna have to put your clothes on one mast.
So I did. Do you know what? I'm gonna just be fun with this. I'm not gonna go for either of them, and I'm gonna go like the game is just done what has happened in real life, and do Born.
You're gonna go Orton. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
What about you, Jamie? Who are you picking?
I'm also very tempted by Reigns. Yet I'm gonna go with Roman.
You're gonna go with Roman. Again, lads, unfortunately, both of you are wrong on this one, which is not bad. It means that both of you are going to get creative control this week. But it means that Bobby Lashley is going to WrestleMania.
Okay, I didn't fucking know.
Bobby Lashley's going to WrestleMania, last eliminating Randy Orton, would you believe?
Shit.
The last eliminations, you would have end up in a draw as well. It would have been 5-5. So yeah, Bobby Lashley, who is of course on Raw and part of the Hurt Business. So Solo Sikoa is facing Bobby Lashley and Omos of the Hurt Business.
Yeah, okay.
Now, if I had creative control, I know exactly what I'm doing in that match to balance it up. But we'll leave that be for yourselves. So you lads get creative control, both around the creative control on this one. So, Aaron, bearing in mind there's an Uno over your head, do you have any
I know
notions?
there is.
Yes.
I don't have any notions because I'm afraid. I'm going to be afraid to do anything on this. Because, okay, quick one. Does it have to
It's
be used
closing.
the week I make the decision?
Not always. It could be like it's. I think the way it works is basically like if you do something absolutely drastic, we are able to just Uno it and cancel it. That's basically the idea.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Can Jerry come back next week and go, I didn't like what Aaron done last week? Change it.
No, it's
What I'm
it's
asking.
intended to be an instant thing where like basically you can call it,
Okay.
you can do it, and then basically if we don't like it, we just go nope, and then it's cancelled out. Essentially, that's the way that I think that's the way I'm interpreting it. And I think just to be fair, rather than just having it
Okay.
just be
Fair
a thing
enough.
every week, I think that's understandable. So
Well, I knew it wasn't going to be a thing every week. I just wanted to know. I know it can only be used once. I was like, is it one of those things where it has to be used immediately, or can it be used next week once everyone finds out about it?
yeah. I'll put it this way, if your pick is fine this week, if me and Jamie agree that it's fine, then the Uno is still in play for the next time you might win Creative Control. I think that's the way I'd look at it. Is basically
I want to do something. I want to do something very fucking stupid just so I can get it out of the way.
you
Like,
can.
there's a part of me here.
Yeah.
There's a part of me here that wants to do that.
That's metagaming.
And
That works. Yeah.
it means that then if I do something drastic the next time, you can't fucking change it. Which is
Oh, I
objectively,
like that.
which,
No,
is,
this
which
is
is objectively very fun on my end. Fucking over.
Oh no, Jerry, what have you done?
That's the thing. I was never going to do anything drastic. Now you've made me want to do something drastic.
Peace was never an option.
Peace was never an option. So I'm going to do the drastic thing now and put you in a bit of a situation. I want Roman Reigns back.
On NXT.
Yeah. I was actually going to take Punk, but he won the belt. So I can't take him. So I'm taking Reigns. So it's up to fucking you, lads. Do you think he can get worse than this?
Oh, it
Do you
can.
think yeah, it can. So if you think he can get worse than this, you can hold off on the Uno card. But if you don't think he can get worse than this, use it now. Gentlemen, be my
I am
guest.
genuinely tempted to both use the Uno card and use my creative control to reinstate the Uno card.
Oh god, that would be that. That's what's gonna happen, right? You're all so afraid that I'm gonna do something so drastic. You keep ruining your things every time. Like, not the undercard's back in. There has to be back in.
We can't take this risk again, or either that, or we just have to make sure Aaron loses creative control every time. Just use the power of suggestion alone.
And Dave, this time, who won the main event? It was Bobby Lashley. Who won the main event? Who do you think won? Huh? No, I'm taking Reigns back to NXT.
Right. Well, I
So
suppose
I win either. I look at it this way. I win. I win either way. I get Reigns back, or you have to use the Uno card. Either way, I win here. So I can do something even funnier the next time in case I win.
The game of chess being played by two players on 2 different weeks. This is the fucking weird bit. Like
It's-
this is the problem
it's
now.
really fun.
Because Jerry's gonna be back in the next episode now, and you're not gonna be there, and he's gonna fucking do this, and it's just like both of you just fucking kiss already and get over it. So
I have offered. He has ignored my advances.
yeah, I think that's part of the problem, isn't it? Jamie, what's your creative control, and then I'll decide. We can decide then if we need to play the Uno or not.
Oh. I was genuinely considering putting Reigns in the fucking Raw main event at Mania. Make it
Fair,
a fatal four-way.
yeah, that would have been my pick as well in terms of like either that or Jacob Fatu. So like, yeah. So we could do that. Like Roman Reigns could make it a fatal 4-way. I'll play my Uno. Roman Reigns goes to WrestleMania for Raw.
Oh wait. So hang on. Aaron's made his creative move.
Yeah.
So rather than using the Uno, can I use mine to take him back from NXT and put him in the main event?
I mean,
that technically shouldn't be. No, that's like when Cena joined SmackDown on Raw that one time, and at the end of the episode, he went back to fucking. No, he went to SmackDown and then he went to Raw at the end of the episode. At the draft that one year, just to freak out the USA network. That seems a bit ridiculous.
That's a tricky one because does that
no,
count
you know
as
what?
2 moves or not? Well, actually, no.
It does count.
Yeah.
No, I like to point out that would technically count as the Uno card. I'm actually going to be a dick about this. That counts
Would
as
it
the Uno
not?
card. It would,
All my
because you're
creative
basically
control is saying Roman Reigns is going to be in the main event of Raw.
yeah, but you retroactively took away the pick that I just made, which is the entire point of the Uno card.
Which was created using creative control.
Yeah, but if you're
So
if
I'm
you're
using
gonna
the
just,
same thing. Instead of using the Uno card, I'm using my one. I'm Uno carding my thing right now.
but that means you get two Uno cards down the fucking.
No, because it took two creative controls. There's Jerry's and then there's mine.
No, that's no, that's nothing.
It's a tricky one. I'm kind of of the view that like like again, it's depending on how we define it to be two moves or not. Like basically, we're both jerking at like both the either arm of Roman Reigns and deciding where he goes. I think in a way though, we could still live in a world where Roman Reigns is in the main event of WrestleMania, but just his home brand is NXT. Like that also is a halfway house.
That means if that happens, Reigns could take the WWE title to NXT.
Well, what I'm going to do is instead, right? So Roman Reigns is going to go into the Raw main event, which is almost Bobby Lashley and Solo Sikoa, the defending champion. So it is going to be a fatal four-way. But on the universe, I will have him set to both Raw and NXT, and depending on how that match goes at WrestleMania, we'll decide where he goes next. If he doesn't win the match there, he'll go. He will stay. If he wins the title, goes to Raw, and if he doesn't, he goes back to the NXT. And then everyone's happy. The Uno is still in place.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, that works.
Yeah. So excellent. All right then. So, good lord, that was a minefield and a half. You and fucking Jerry. Sweet Jesus Christ. We just might have just fucking booking you two in the fucking Mirror Universe been easier. Oh wait, I did that. Wait, or tried to, and then the fucking RPG died to death. So anyway, yeah. If anything, that was the match that killed the RPG. It was like we couldn't handle the possibility of you two actually working a match together. It was impossible. Like, yeah, right then. So moving on then to our final piece of the show then, guys. So this is something we were looking to do since the episode before, where we had a few other things to cover. So we're doing it now. Obviously, 2026 has kind of been the year of retirements to a certain degree. Obviously, we've like John Cena before the year of our Lord 2026 retiring on the hands of Gunther, and then we had Ace Tanahashi then retiring at Wrestle Kingdom as well, and now we have AJ Styles retiring as well. Again, it was a bit fluid at the time. We weren't really sure whether he was actually going to retire or not, or do a run in TNA. But obviously, he's made the decision after that point and said goodbye to his home people in Atlanta. So
anyone who ever thought that man was ever going to go to AEW needs their head checked.
Oh yeah, no, that was never going to happen. In fairness, but
they were smoking the hopium.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought I'd say for the crack before we kind of like properly get into a retrospective on AJ Styles. I've got a little interesting one here for you, right? And this is as per our good friends at CageMatch.net. Not good friends, but you get the idea. How many matches overall do you think AJ Styles had in his career? If you were to put a number on it, how bear in mind, if I said that he debuted in October 30th, 1999, how many matches do you think
I'm going to go with at least 10,000.
Easily. He was everywhere in the mid-noughties. Like, he wrestled in the SFX in Dublin in 2005. Like,
correct? Yeah.
That it's got to be significant. Like we are talking 5 figures, surely.
Weirdly enough, no. Well, at least they're certainly not the matches that have been documented anyway. Again, dark matches and training matches and stuff in between as well. Ones that have actually been documented, 2,350 is AJ Styles' score. Like, I suppose you should remember, TNA didn't really do house shows for a long time either. So that that does rack up the numbers. And by the time he does go to WWE, he is house showy, but not that house showy, I suppose. You know,
but
he wouldn't
Cage Match wouldn't have the house matches.
It wouldn't have the house matches, no. So that would factor it into. Yeah, so these are documented matches in a sense.
Yeah.
So like at least like 2,350 would be like, say, official record. His first match in October 1999 was AJ Styles. Well, apparently the name was, but again, could be debated, Air Styles or whoever else. and Tanya Terrific versus Mark Four Michaels and Rick Michaels back in NWA Wildside.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jeez.
there you fucking go. And then going from there, and again, we also then it was only just after that then he started like teaming up with Air Paris and stuff like that. So that brings him on to this road. Then that would end up in with WCW, then TNA, then fucking New Japan, then all the indies in between them as well, and then eventually WWE. Quite remarkable.
Oh shit!
Quite.
Sorry.
Quite remarkable. I know. I'm shocked as well that he ended up in WWE.
No, I was saying, oh shit, there's something very fucking different.
Yeah, there is, and we're ignoring it. So like, even then, another fun fact here is that if you're hazard to guess, how many countries do you think AJ Styles wrestled in? As documented as per Cage and Match.net, how many countries do you think he wrestled in?
Well, he's wrestled in Canada, Mexico.
Don't you that whole Animaniac song there for a second? I thought.
What else do we have? He's wrestled in most of Europe, I would imagine. Even a couple of Eastern European countries when WWE do a fucking random house show in like Poland or something like that.
I'd give it a clean 25.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same with 25, yeah.
The correct answer is 30.
Oh.
30 countries overall. Impressive. In no particular order, or rather the order, well, he's done at least one match in Hungary, in Czechia, Taiwan, Singapore, Sweden and Switzerland, Peru, New Zealand, China, Chile, Argentina, Finland, Denmark, South Korea, Portugal, the Netherlands, the UAE, Belgium, Italy, Ireland, France, Spain, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Australia, Germany, Canada, and obviously England, Japan, and America. So, world fucking travels.
Dangerously close to the Animaniacs song there.
I would, you know what? I really wanted to rattle off into it, and then I ran out of fucking countries. That was the problem. He should have done a few fucking more matches in Africa, but then of course that wouldn't work because of course the world is flat. And again, so my last little trivia question here, as per CageMatch.net, who was his most frequent opponent?
It's got to be someone in TNA. It's got to be like fucking Daniels or Joe or Kazir. It's got to be one of those three. I was shocked if it was anybody else. I will
gonna answer this by giving you the top 10. So
please do. Please do.
So the top 10 is John Cena in number 10. Number 9. You're gonna vomit when you hear some of these names. Number 9, Jinder Mahal.
He did have a run with him for a bit when he was going for the belt. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 8, Shinsuke Nakamura. Number 7, Baron Corbin. Number 6, Kurt Angle. Number 5, Randy Orton. Number 4, Dean Ambrose. And of course, that Dean Ambrose / John Moxley / whatever, whoever else fits the bill. Number 3, Kevin Owens / Kevin Steen, with 106 matches to their name. Number 2, with 142 matches between them, Christopher Daniels. And then with a potentially a record, I'd love to see this, 180 matches between them, Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's incredible. Now again,
I'm surprised Kaz isn't in there.
Yeah, weirdly enough, there's because everything's a bit of an outlier. He's actually 11th. He's 11th in that list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, if I was to go further down, there's a lot more TNA kind of like centric people there. Like, so Abyss is 12th. Sami Zayn is down there. Daniel Bryan, Chris Sabin, Ivar for some reason of the War Raiders. But not fucking the other guy. Like, don't ask me. I don't know. But the reason, like, basically the reason I kind of asked that was, there's always this kind of conversation when wrestlers retire about their legacies and about, you know, what their real kind of like footprint in the wrestling kind of universe was. Because obviously when there's a massive retirement, like say The Undertaker or John Cena, take your pick there, there's always kind of like influences upon the sphere like that. But I want to make this argument for this podcast and let you guys discuss it. I believe AJ Styles is actually the most influential wrestler that will have retired in this kind of catchment of, say, of your John Cena's and your Tanahashis. And the reason I say that is because he has literally gone through like rings of the tree in terms of like his character and his wrestling, but also the fact that like not every person could be a John Cena and be like this kind of like muscle bound fucking leatherhead, but a lot of people could be AJ Styles. And I think when you look at the generations of indie wrestlers that have come by since, a lot of them are in the AJ Styles mold as opposed to the John Cena mold because one is a lot more achievable than the other, especially if you're of an athletic background and stuff like that. It's a lot something's a bit more achievable than that. So that's what I kind of want to discuss with you. Would you agree with that assessment that AJ Styles perhaps retires as the most influential wrestler of all time?
He's the
I,
he's this Shawn Michaels of that era wrestler post 2005 2006.
But to be
What
fair,
Shawn Michaels was in the 90s, AJ Styles is in the modern era. He's he's arguably one of my favorite wrestlers ever. He never was bad anywhere he went. He always showed up for any company that he worked for. I started watching TNA because of Kurt Angle and Christian in 2007, 2008. And I ended up staying for him. Short haired AJ Styles would granted a little moment there where they try to make him Ric Flair.
yeah, let's not talk about that.
He was fucking phenomenal. When he left TNA, I was devastated because I had no access to New Japan at that point because I had the fine internet. So then the next time I got to see him properly, he was against Nakamura. That blew my fucking mind. I was like, holy shit. I from Nakamura because of him. Then he goes to WWE, which I think people thought might never happen. And if it did happen, it would be a disaster. And it wasn't. It was generally just fucking phenomenal from the get-go. There was never a point in any point in his career where you felt like he was out of place. He everywhere he was absolutely fucking brilliant. He might have never have gone to WWE, at least at the time that he did, if it wasn't for TNA being absolute fucking idiots and deciding that Hulk Hogan was the guy they want to put fucking money on at the age of like what 56, 7 at that point, and Nick Aldis, which is his own different thing, but he's phenomenal. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, I mean, again, the nickname comes from is there for a reason. In fairness, so
yeah,
so
he'll go down as one of the best wrestlers ever in North America. By a handful of people.
Would you go along with that, Janie?
I'd agree that he is absolutely the most influential person who's retiring in this space. I completely agree with that, for better and for worse. He's kind of patient zero of the modern wrestling style. I would also argue though that you were saying that like anyone could be him, and I don't think anyone could ever be him again because Cena was the embodiment of Vince McMahon's vision for WWE, and he'd lived that for 20 years. AJ kind of became wherever he was. If that makes any sense. Like he showed up at the tail end, like the dying days of WCW and the Cruiserweight Tag Division, and he was the B guy. Then you look at like early TNA and them focusing around him and being like the cocky youth that he was, and AJ Styles was the X Division. Like he was like he won the title on the second week and he held it for the first 3 months and he just was the X Division. Now you had Loki and Jerry Lynn and there was people around, but they very much, and I think it was a lot to do with like Bill Behrens from NWA Wildside's influence there.
Yeah.
That it was like he was the pet project in his early 20s. At the same time, he was in Ring of Honor and he was putting on the long technical matches, showing he wasn't just the flippy guy. He embodied that too. TNA used him well in places, they misused him in others, and suddenly 10 years had gone by.
Before you know it, he was the vet in TNA. He was like he in the space of about 6 months, he went from being clean shaven with short hair to having long hair and a beard.
No, hang on, we'll get to that. So AJ, but
Right,
just
okay.
he had the short hair. He looked like the troubled youth, and then eventually he looked like the mother of a troubled youth.
In fairness, that hair, like having to live that haircut for 12 years after TNA, fucking Jesus, man, come on, like, honest to
But
God,
Amazing head of hair.
like
Let's give him that much.
the man
Didn't
had
even
his
bald.
well, yeah, but the man had his first world title shot in 2003. Like that's
Yeah.
23 years
23
ago.
years ago,
Yeah,
and he's only retiring now. And he would have been credible, is the other thing. Like, it
yeah,
wasn't even like, oh, they're giving the young guy a title shot. There's no way he'd ever win it. He was credible 23 years ago. They did misuse him in places. He was an absolute workhorse. Like you said, though, he showed up. No matter what they had him do, he gave it his all and showed that he could. I think a lot of people tried to emulate him. I think his style became the kind of in thing. And I think a lot of people missed a lot of the small things that he can do. I've been watching a lot of the early X Division, and it's the modern style, but they still made it look like a fight and a struggle,
yeah,
which I think is what's
That's
missing.
Yes, that's what missing. So when people try to like use it as just like they did this stuff back then, it's like because that looked like a fight.
Mhm.
Yeah, Flippy shit in it, and it was a big X in the corner of the ring, so there was kind of like a ladder match, but it still looked like I believe those lads are over more of the shit that happens today. So
There's an Iron Man match from late 2002 between Jerry Lynn and AJ Styles. And they do the kind of set of sequences, which I suppose even before AJ, you had RVD and Jerry Lynn doing that. But when AJ brought his brand of athleticism to it and Jerry brought his experience, it is the current modern style. It's everything AEW is built on. It's the Meltzerific wrestling. But they both made it look like they were fighting. It's a skill. It's an absolute skill. And
he some of the shit he did in TNA, which is the reason I stayed around, and then I ended up having I think TNA used to have a show on Bravo where they used to do their classic matches.
yeah.
And that's where I saw that triple threat with him,
Unbreakable.
Joe, and Unbreakable, which
September 11, 2005.
Jesus, didn't know that was the fucking date.
It kind of sticks out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does stick out. It's in my head. It's my favorite triple threat match ever. It's perfect.
I agree.
And he's the linchpin of that whole thing. Anytime I saw him wrestle, I was like, I don't think this man is capable of having a shite match. He got a good match with Jinder Mahal. Now, I love me some Jinder Mahal. All right. Him winning the WWE Championship, one of my favorite moments ever because of how shocking it was, and B, how funny it was. But he managed to get a good match out of him. So when he did win, was that the first time he won the WWE Championship? Or the second?
I think it's the second, isn't it? Let me double check. I'm actually currently looking through his.
Going off John Cena, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think that was afterwards. I think that was afterwards. I think. No, maybe I'm wrong, but even then, he won it, and he made history doing it in the most obscure way of making history. The first WWE title change outside of North America since like what, the 90s or something mental like that.
Yeah,
like
it was off it now. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was. His whole WWE run was class. He had moments where he was a bit, but it wasn't his fault. It was the booking.
But even then, I'd argue that and again, like it was there in TNA, but it really came to the forefront in WWE when he kind of fit the product and he became a fully fleshed out character.
Yeah.
Like his character work came on leaps and bounds.
Yeah. I just checked there actually. His first title win was against Dean Ambrose.
I didn't know was the Dean Ambrose one first or was it this one? Yeah, because he did the ball.
That would have involved James Ellsworth.
Yeah, this is Backlash 2016.
Yeah. Because that's when he started doing the house that AJ Styles built, which was great line, fucking great line. But he just no matter where he went, he was fucking. He was absolutely fucking fantastic. TNA did kind of fuck him over near the end, considering like who he was to that company. He was Mr. TNA for a solid decade. He was like Sting with WCW. It was like you think of the company, you think of AJ Styles. And then when he went to WWE first, it was like this is. I think everyone thought when he went there first they're probably going to fuck this up, but he was the first indie fella they got where they actually recognized what he did outside of the company. Because I think Michael Cole actually said he had just recently lost the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, or he was at Wrestle Kingdom like a couple of weeks beforehand. I was like, oh shit.
The biggest sign of they knew what they had with him was they hired him in 2016 and he'd never spent a day on NXT.
Yeah. That's always a sign that like there's not like I said, the likes of Shinsuke and Finn got that treatment, but again, I think that was also in an era where NXT really enjoyed having a kind of a like more pro wrestling than sports entertainment in a sense. But as I said, like with AJ Styles, there's no point doing that because like fucking get him up there and just start having pull on good matches immediately, you know?
Yeah, it was prime super indie territory at the time, and like Nakamura came in at the same time and did do the NXT run. But with AJ, they bumped him straight to the main roster and straight to WrestleMania.
And they were smart about it too because they put him right into a thing with Chris Jericho, which at the time was the best thing for him.
Yep.
Because the two of them worked well together and they had a great WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
So it was
kind of on the conversation then of like what like obviously like there's like a lot of kind of discourse about how influential he is on kind of like modern wrestling and all that sort of stuff, which is absolutely true because he is. As Jamie says, you see his kind of fingerprints all over the place, like how you saw Shawn Michaels kind of like priding the kind of the work rate kind of era of wrestling in that sense. Because like I said, like how many other wrestlers have said like Shawn Michaels was their kind of blueprint as a wrestler, like your Jericho's and stuff like that would have been in that kind of same ballpark. So obviously AJ Styles naturally being the inspiration to many a flippy boy on the indie scene makes total sense. But I was about to question the other part I want to kind of angle as well. Obviously, a lot has been made by the fact that his WWE run is longer than it was in TNA. But I would like to posit the question now, which one actually meant the most in terms of his career? Because obviously WWE, larger audience, more titles in theory, like more time at the top in that sense. But TNA and what it was as an alternative, as a possibility of like there is actually other wrestling available than just your WWE kind of like, you know, slop at that point. It wasn't quite the slop stage, but my God, we were getting that point when Super Cena came around. And seeing stuff like the X Division and AJ Styles was, as you said, a bit of a poster boy for it. If we're putting those two wrestlers together, or face side by side, let's say, your soccer mom AJ Styles and power twink AJ Styles, which which one is the more influential wrestler, if you had to put it down to it?
His TNA run.
Yeah, the first half was more influential, but the second half probably bought him a bigger house.
I mean, I think that's fair, isn't it?
It definitely secured his retirement better.
Yeah.
But I do think the first half is where he changed the business. Because even like we talk about indie wrestling now, indie wrestling post AJ Styles and his kind of, I suppose it wasn't solely him, but he was at the forefront of it and he was the poster boy for it.
Yeah.
Indie wrestling before and after were very different things. If you look at indie wrestling in the 90s, it was low grade. It wasn't work rate orientated. It was just like former WWE guys coming in and fighting the local guy, but it was bordering on territorial, but worse. Whereas when they had their influence, suddenly indie wrestling was where you got high work rate matches, and you got more kind of named companies. Like I think he's made more companies than most people.
That's a good question, actually. I think, I think we're talking in the kind of the amount of hundreds here, really, in terms of promotions he's gone to.
I distinctly remember, and it was like, again, it's down to the media of the time, but I remember like, and I'm obviously not living in Dublin. I'm not in the metropolitan areas, but I remember seeing DVDs popping up of like 1PW and it was
Yeah.
like AJ Styles plastered on the front of it because
I
they
had
knew it
I
would
had a
sell.
couple of those. I
Yeah.
had a couple of those DVDs kicking about in my bedroom.
Yeah.
From a golden discs that for some reason had these random ass wrestling shows. To where I saw it, actually the famous Cactus Jack, Terry Funk, fucking exploding barbed wire match.
Oh, the
King
one
of
in
the
Japan.
Death
Yeah,
match.
yeah.
King of the Death. That's where I found that. And it was partly because, funny enough, partly because of AJ Styles, because I was finding his stuff. And then I was finding other DVDs. Why did I throw those out? God damn.
Yeah. Texas item now. To answer your question, Jamie, according again, as per cagematch.net, was again not quite the most, like probably not the most defined source, but 127 at least 127 promotions he would have wrestled for in his career.
See,
Jesus
that's
Christ.
Yeah. Including such classics like Christian Wrestling Entertainment, Wrestling in Canada, freelance shows, or National Wrestling
Wrestling
Alliance
in Canada.
Bluegrass. There you go. There's one.
she
Wrestle
sounds right up his
Birmingham. There's another one. So he's been everywhere.
alley. Man wrestled for IWW. I mean, come on.
Yeah, to be fair,
He was everywhere.
along with such classics like Big Mouth Loud and and absolutely intense wrestling, which I'm really sure is.
Did he wrestle for Juggalo Championship Wrestling? I feel like he might have had a match in there somewhere.
I mean, to be fair, he probably should have if he didn't.
I
No,
think he
no,
would have.
no Juggalo wrestling promotion.
Did he
I'm
never
afraid.
have?
No,
Oh
no
well, I'm
Juggalos.
shocked at that. Okay.
Nope. Not for his Christian household. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, listen, it kind of goes without saying, like,
Homosexuals.
yeah, the gay
What?
community.
The gay community.
I think it's also like part of the like. I think again, AJ Styles I think is almost like a fella that's molded so much by wrestling and almost like kind of insulated by wrestling that like again, I think he's the kind of perfect kind of example of like when someone has lived wrestling so much that like you just can't take it every idiosyncrasy that he has. Like obviously there's a bit of slagging with the kind of the flat earth and the kind of the stuff he did, the podcast he did with Gallows and Anderson. But like in a way, I think that's almost part of his charm is that he is just like such an insulated little boy who just wants to do flips. And there's something actually quite innocent about all that in a sense where like I'm nowhere near expecting like AJ Styles like politically is more likely to show up with a fucking insurrection than he is at a kind of like any sort of like nice politics in a sense. But in a weird way, I think because his wrestling was so palatable and such as a character, like the politics never clashed with it. Like his personal never really clashed with his wrestling in that respect.
Do you know? Like, because I don't want to dive into the politics of it too much.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
he did that last week and it was very heavy. He never struck me as a nutcase. He just struck me as your typical Southern Republican.
yeah, and I think that's absolutely fine. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with that.
He
And
might
like,
have some kooky shit going on around there, and that's fine.
yeah,
Does he think the earth? Does he think the earth is flat? Fine, but he's not shoving it down anybody's fucking throat either.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah. Like again, that's a moderate view as we've learned from the last couple of months and years. But as I said, it's always interesting just in terms of like the reason I kind of bring that out was more like the kind of idea of the optics in a sense where like when you have such a kind of like visually aesthetically pleasing wrestler and someone in a way where there's a lot of familiarity with AJ Styles that a lot of people would have had with The Undertaker, let's say, or with Hulk Hogan, and if that like would say like when we're talking about like the two different flavors of a character, like there's such a big disparity between like 80s Hulk Hogan and NWO Hulk Hogan. They almost feel like two different people. I don't think the dichotomy is the same as it is with X Division AJ Styles and like Soccer Mom AJ Styles, as it were. But it's that same kind of idea. There's still a familiarity with that wrestler in a sense where like you always know what you're going to get from him in a certain degree, and it is literally just like let's see what he does with this feud and with this person. And ultimately, there's very few stinkers in AJ Styles' back catalog, and ultimately, it's not necessarily it was his fault. It was usually down to the booking. It was down to TNA using them badly or putting them in fucking factions that didn't make sense. Was it Fortune he was in, or was it another one that just
It was.
busted flush? Wasn't it like I think it was it?
Which was
Was,
in-
Yeah, the
was
whole
the-
thing. Yeah, that's when they
Oh,
tried to make him Ric Flair 2.0.
yeah,
Was and then he also did. Was he in the Aces and Eights, or was it that just
No, he
he
did
had that weird?
Sting. He did basically Sting versus NWO against the Aces and Eights.
mm,
That's
Yes,
when
he
he
did,
grew
yeah.
the hair out
Yeah.
and got Evil Ways as a theme song.
yeah.
But like, I mean,
which
you want
was
to talk about
great.
terrible factions he was in? The man was in Sports Entertainment Extreme, led
Oh, he
by
was in
Vince
sex.
Russo.
Yes,
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
I mean,
I forgot he was in sex.
he was with Sonny Siaki and the boys.
yeah.
But like, I mean, he's seen some peaks and valleys.
Yeah. Well, I think that's also I think that's also again, like least you forget the guy with fucking team with almost for a year as well. So like this he's had very quiet periods in a sense, but it's always that kind of same thing. It's like when you have the longevity there and you have the tenure, um sometimes it doesn't matter if the booking is bad because you always know they'll come around again.
Mhm.
Like I found it just wonderful that he had such a little renaissance, and I pardon the pun here when I say renaissance, only when he was in France because of the chant. But what was wonderful
Which,
about it was that it
which
was such an
again,
organic thing.
I'm gonna say it again. I got to partake in that, and I'm so happy I did know because it's never going to happen again. And I'm so happy I got to do that
Yeah.
because it was 15 straight minutes. They had to knock back Dominic's entrance because we wouldn't shut up.
And if anything, I can't think of a better memorial for a wrestler like that, of keeping a chant, a bespoke chant in a foreign language that he probably doesn't understand, going for that long that it
Yeah.
fucks the show up. Like how which name me another wrestler that would get that experience, that would get that level of love and appreciation. Because again, there's absolutely no emotional or familial reason for France to love AJ Styles purely by the fact that like fuck it, this chant works for him. Let's just keep it going. Like Baron Corbin is is a favorite of the French fans. We don't know why. We may never know why. But ultimately, every French promotion now has to book Bishop Dyer by law. That is now how it goes. You know, like it wasn't the same as us with like fucking Sabu. He was just what was available. This is different now. This is by choice. You know. But again, ultimately, as I said, he's like I suppose to end this kind of little topic here, because now obviously he has been retired by Gunter, and Gunter has the luxury now of being the career killer and have like that just another skull upon his like kind of like many necklaces of prizes. How do you consider AJ Styles to be a massive loss to the wrestling sphere, or did he kind of go at the right time in that respect? Did he still have more to give, or is he now best being that kind of like agent in a polo shirt, Chris Hero style, and just like guiding people along with matches and stuff
No,
like that?
I,
it would have been nice to give him a Mania match to end it off with. But no, I probably would have not done it in Saudi Arabia of all places. He
Yeah.
probably deserved to do it out in America. I did Atlanta, but America nonetheless. But yeah, he's still in wrestling.
Yeah.
So he's still going to be teaching people in NXT, which is the main thing. So I think that for that alone, he's going to be absolutely fucking fine. I'm happy that he's still in wrestling.
like I don't think it's a case of really oh, what could have been, and he has nothing left to prove. He has nothing left.
Yeah.
Like the man has genuinely done it all everywhere, and I mean I'm glad that they finished it early, because far too many wrestlers keep chasing it because it's all they know. When the thing came out about from Carl Anderson, where he said AJ admitted his neck hurts, that
Yeah.
was it. That was the line.
That's enough. That's enough that I was just like, thank fuck
Nope.
he didn't have a neck injury and he left on his own terms.
Yep.
And I'm so happy he didn't do the Big E ending because that would have been
100%.
a fucking horrible ending for his career.
But
So,
it's like he's given enough over long enough that I want him to retire and now just be able to walk when he's 50. Or is he already 50? I doubt it. But
no,
yeah,
he is.
no,
He is because that's the reason he was retiring.
oh,
He
well,
said
fair enough.
he wasn't doing it. Yeah, he wasn't doing it until he was 50. Yeah.
Fair. But like I want him to, be able to lift his grandkids and shit. I don't think anyone is owed anything beyond what I don't think we got more than we deserve from him anyway.
Yeah. And like I said, what will be the one kind of like what's the one consequence that AJ Styles really leaves behind in terms of like, again, obviously everyone has a kind of own level of impact. For me, AJ Styles is very much a wrestler's wrestler. I think you only really obviously as fans we can kind of appreciate how much like his sheer longevity in it, but I think we're also outside the realm in a sense. We're not wrestlers. We don't kind of work week to week in a sense. But
I do
like,
think that it bears mentioning, just while we're on the subject of him,
yeah,
that, and you call him a wrestler's wrestler, that is absolutely the case, because
mm,
from even early TNA, when, like, people were willing to put him over more than anyone else.
yeah,
Like Jeff Jarrett was willing to put him over in early TNA, and he didn't put anyone over. Um,
He put no one over.
yeah.
yeah,
That's fair.
but like
This is
even
fair.
then, like Sean Waltman and Scott Hall came in, they put him over.
Yeah.
They like year two, Randy Savage's final appearance was teaming with AJ Styles. Like he saw what he could be.
Mm.
There was, and it keeps going. You have Kurt Angle, you have Sting. Eventually, you have like John Cena. You like so many people along the
The
way.
Undertaker. Of
Yeah,
all the people,
yeah.
like to have Undertaker's
Mm.
last match, not my fucking first pick at all.
Nope.
But there you
But
go.
for the indie flippy boy, the
Yeah,
Undertaker chosen.
yeah.
Like he really is the wrestler's wrestler.
Mm. Yeah.
Shawn Michaels has said his one big regret was he didn't get the match with AJ. Like
Oh, that would have been so good.
it's
There's a
everyone sees it.
there's a future podcast that I want to do. Basically called it is a multiverse mania, where it's basically make a dream match card for WrestleMania, where basically time is fluid and you can pick whoever you want from any era and just put them in matches. You basically get like basically it's like you had to basically book a WrestleMania weekend with anyone from any era, like literally
I see.
pick them up from any fucking time and anywhere else. And my God, is my HBK of like mid 90s HBK versus like early WWE AJ Styles is exactly that matchup I want to see, because the drama, the pretense, the hysteria, it's all there.
Yeah,
It's all fucking plugged in, ready to go. And yeah, it's that's certainly a little thought provoker as we run into WrestleMania.
is it weird that a dream match that can never happen, but that I think would actually be a phenomenal match, ironically,
Mm.
is old AJ against young AJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, there's part of me that like all the different eras of AJ from like
Oh, do it,
even
do a
from
triple threat and throw in like 2004 AJ against 2011 AJ
yeah.
versus
Yeah.
2019 AJ.
That's what I was literally
Yeah.
as I was thinking is
Beautiful.
like like just basically three tattooed layers of AJ Styles, like just go from there, like because again they're three quite different people in that sense. Like again, not necessarily like he got bulked up because he did fucking bulk up quite a bit, but like AJ Styles went into Japan and became out a different wrestler, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Like
he
he was
did.
a lot more
He did. He was a
grounded. He was a
completely
lot
different
more
wrestler.
physical, a lot faster. I thought on the mat as opposed to just doing flips for the sake of flips. So like there's very different wrestlers there, and just the amount of hats he could wear at any given time is unbelievable. Like what a person to do it. And yeah, like I said, started in 1999. That is a 27, near 20, 20 pretty realistically, a 26 and a half year career in professional wrestling, no less. Like, I know, like, there's some sports that have a quick turnaround, like NFL, where, like, the average is, like, 3 years, I think. And you'd have, like, mutants like fucking Tom Brady or Peyton Manning going on for so long. AJ Styles is in that bracket of an absolute mutant where his body just acclimatized to the most traumatic fucking sport you could do. It's like having a boxer go for 30 years. It's impossible. It doesn't happen. Like, I don't think it'll ever be in like outside this current crop of say like the Ring of Honor generation. I don't think you're going to get wrestlers that will go on at that intensity, at that speed, at that ferocity
Mhm.
for 27 years. It's just not going to happen. Which, in a way, I think makes us appreciate him a bit more.
I'd agree.
Yeah. Maybe the French were right. Maybe he is really phenomenal the whole time.